It's Do Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine. You're on with this Do Time with Pastor Steph. How are you this morning? That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. For this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So, where were you yesterday? Yesterday was Let's Talk About a Tuesday Church Folk Day. And we talked about why people who have gone to mega churches, but just churches in general, have stopped going. Yes, we know that churches are definitely not attended like they were many years ago. Yeah, we're talking about like from 2020 on, a whole lot of people are not attending church anymore. And you know what? Some people are just waiting for an excuse, but there are those who have a legitimate concern. In other words, they were actively going and there were just things that just turned them off. And one of the first things people talked about is greed. Yes, greedy. Pastor Vinny said yesterday, the $1,000 lines, Pastor Brenda, was a little easy. She was like $20, $50, $100. Pastor Vinny said, nah, it's $1,000 at times. Yes. You know, nobody likes a church that just continually begs, right? No. And unfortunately, that's how it goes down for some churches. You know, they're always taking up offerings. They're always gathering money. They always need money. And people just not trying to hear that these days. No, they want to go to church. They want to get their word and they want to leave. Now, again, we're not talking about those, and I'm going to say that over and over again. We're not talking about those who were just waiting for a reason to leave. No, we're talking about people who had a legitimate, they're into church, they're going, they're vibrant, they're praising the Lord when they're there, but just that greed thing, y'all always asking for $1, is just a little bit much. Yeah. Well, there are others that say they don't like the politics. Yes. Now, we're not talking about the internal, we're talking about the external politics coming up in the church. Yeah, you know how when people are trying to get elected, and then you see them going to these churches, especially the mega churches. They're not visiting the little churches much, but they are definitely going to the mega churches. And you know what? People are not going there for politicians. They're not going there for the politicking. They're not going there to hear why I should vote for so-and-so, because other than that, they would not cross your church's doorstep. No, they wouldn't. You don't have these people attending. Well, where do they go to church? Do they go to church? Half of them don't even go to church. Now, you know, they already say you're not supposed to mix church and state. Yeah, well, shame on those pastors who even let those people up in there. You know, they want to just be where they can say, oh, you had so-and-so coming up in here. Yes, that's all they want. That's all they want. And shame on them, because people are really not trying to even deal with that. Well, what about the ones that are power hungry? Now, we specifically talked about the board. Yes. You know, we're talking about the boards, how they just wield their weight and their power all around. They telling people what to do. The Pope pastor is just a hired hand. As long as he preaches what they want him to preach or her to preach, as long as he's their puppet and does exactly what they say, they could care less what goes on, and they will definitely let you know who is the one in control. Yes, yes, this is very, very prevalent in churches. And Pastor KL brought up something that was really, really true yesterday. You know, you're the pastor. Now, if you're the minister of the church or the preacher, that's something different. But a pastor is the one that's supposed to lead. Now, imagine the people of Israel telling Moses what to do. Woo! Would that have been a mess or what? Well, that's exactly how it goes down. And if you go back in biblical times, even Moses, his father-in-law, told him how to get that done. So what is it to do now? Yes, sign on as the pastor if that's what God has called you to do, and you take the power in your own hands. Other than that, don't let them people tell you what to do. Well, there are so many reasons why people have stopped going to church. And again, if you were just waiting for a reason, or if you're not going to church for some petty reason, because sister so-and-so stepped on your toe, or sister so-and-so told you about your bad grandchild, then no. You want to make sure that you attach yourself to a fully Bible believing church. Yes, somewhere where the pastor is really preaching and teaching what they're supposed to be teaching. And I mean something that where anything they say, and I mean anything they say, can be taken from the word of God. Now, if you got somebody who's taking a little bit from there and a little bit from here, and they're preaching one part of the Bible, but they're not preaching other part of the Bible, now that's something completely different. However, if you have, some issue, and you really feel like you can't go to your pastor and get it resolved, it might be time for you to leave. Listen, sometimes it's a season, if they change hands and, they're no longer doing what they're supposed to do, or they suddenly got greedy, or they suddenly started pulling the politicians up into the church, then I can understand. And at that point, you pray to God and you ask God to just direct you to where you're supposed to go, and go with some reasonable expectation. Don't go with this, I don't like the way they cook potato salad, and the ushers, do this, or because anywhere you go, and let's talk about this for a couple of minutes. Anywhere you go, there will be an issue. There is never going to be a place where you will go, as long as there are people like human beings. Yes, because remember, the church is the hospital for the spiritually sick. And yeah, you're going to have to understand that there might be a deacon that might be sick sometimes, and there might be, somebody else, an usher, who might be sick at a moment. The people go through things, and unfortunately, you can't be running from this stuff 100%. Yes, we're not talking about nothing major, and we're not talking about anything consistent, but there will be something that you just may not like. So again, make sure you go to the Lord and ask God to direct you to where you need to go. Definitely don't, if you're church hopping, there's a difference than just kind of exploring and, seeing where God is sending you. But if you just bounce around from place to place because you just ain't got nothing else to do, or you just that kind of unsatisfied individual, then that might be a little too much. All right. So, And for those of us who are running these churches, y'all pay attention to what's going on, because these things are turning people off, and they should. And they so rightly should. Certain things should not be tolerated in your church. Come on. Let's not make them seem so unreasonable. Get yourself together and understand that people are coming to church relying on us to make sure things are right in the Lord. So that's our job. Okay, you're not going to be able to stop every ripple in the water and every rift that may come through the air. But for the most part, let's make sure things are being taken care of properly. Okay. Well, that's how we spent our Tuesday. And today is Wednesday, everybody. Yes, we made it by the grace of God. It is the middle of the week. I always like to say, people call it hump day. They're trying to figure out how they're going to make it through the rest of the week. But God is good, because he's already answered as to how we're going to get that done. And it's called It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. So go ahead and get that healthy breakfast. Go ahead and tell somebody that It's Due Time with Pastor Steph is on. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because we will be right back.
Sarah Rector was born in Indian Territory. By age 11, she was known as the richest black girl in America. Her family's land, once thought worthless, struck oil in 1913. Thousands of barrels flowed daily, earning her the equivalent of $9,000 today. But with wealth came challenges. The courts assigned her a white guardian. Black leaders like Booker T. Washington stepped in to protect her. Sarah later attended Tuskegee Institute, becoming a successful entrepreneur. Her story stands as a testament to Black excellence and resilience.
Good morning, and good morning again. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. And it is Wednesday, everybody. Giving God thanks that we have made it safely to the middle of the week. Yes. And I want to know who's in the room with me today. So please make sure, if you're in the room, that you send me a hearty shout out and a good morning, so I can say hello back. We got the first check-in this morning is from our boy Terrence. Hey Terrence, thank you so much for joining us. We are hearing from Miss Ketty. Hey Miss Ketty, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we got our boy Serge in the room. Hey Serge, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we always have to say good morning to the ladies who help us hold it down in the mornings, Monday through Friday, bringing us our Facebook Live and our YouTube Live. Let's say good morning to Shantice. Hey, Shantice. And let's say good morning to our girl Anika. Hey, Anika. Good morning. Good morning. And good morning again. Now, it's Wednesday morning, so I have nothing for you but one thing. It's time for our socially conscious segment. So let's say good morning to our girlfriend, Vivian. Good morning, Viv.
Good morning. Happy Wow Wednesday. How are you, Pastor Steph?
I am well, thank you. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Doing good.
All right. Glad to hear that. You know what I always like to ask? What you got for us today?
All right, today on Socially Conscious, we are starting off with some news regarding the kiddies. Reports are saying 1 in 31 children in the United States are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder by their 8th birthday. This is according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The finding, based on an analysis of medical records from 2022, reflects a dramatic rise in autism over the past 2 decades. Previous CDC reports showed that 1 in 54 8-year-olds had been diagnosed with autism in 2016. In 2000, it was 1 in 50, no, 1 in 150. They are saying part of this increase is because doctors are better than ever at identifying autism, with awareness at an all-time high. They are calling this an epidemic, saying the autism epidemic has now reached a scale unprecedented in human history. They say the data was collected from 16 sites in 14 states, including Arizona, California, New York, New Jersey, Tennessee, Texas, and Puerto Rico. Autism diagnosis among 4-year-olds in the new report were estimated at 1 in 34 children. Boys were 3 times more likely than girls to be diagnosed with autism, and diagnoses were also more common among Black and Hispanic children compared with white children of the same age group. So we have autism going up in the numbers in the past decades. Next, we have Mayor Eric Adams in the headlines, as New York City lawmakers are suing to block Mayor Eric Adams from allowing federal immigration agents to operate within the Rikers Island jail complex. They say the lawsuit argues that the executive order, which allows Immigration and Customs Enforcement and other federal agencies to maintain office space in jail, violates the city's prohibition on the public officials using their office for personal benefit. So ICE agents previously had a presence on the Rikers Island facility, which is a hard-to-reach island in the East River, but they were effectively banned from operating there back in 2014. And this was under the New York City sanctuary laws. Many are accusing Adams of agreeing to the plan to help pay off the Trump administration in exchange for dropping criminal charges against him, although Adams has repeatedly denied making any deals with the Trump administration over the criminal case that he had against himself. And then we have Trump in the news, who is saying that he wants to give money and an airplane ticket to any immigrant who is in the country illegally, who chooses to self-deport themselves. And he is working to get those who are good back in the U.S. Trump and his administration say that they're focused right now on getting murderers out of the country. But for those in the U.S. illegally, he said he's going to implement a self-deportation program. Trump offered few details about the plan, including timing, but said that the U.S. would provide immigrants airfare and a stipend. Trump said, quote, "We are going to give them a stipend. We're going to give them some money and a plane ticket, and then we're going to work with them. If they're good, if we want them back in, we're going to work with them to get them back in as quickly as we can." So this is his new plan, to pay people to leave on their own accord, give them a plane ticket and some money to get up out of here. And if he deems you to be a good person, he will then work with you to get you back in to the United States as soon as possible. And then we have a video that I'm hoping Shantice will be able to play for our wow story of the week. So what you saw is the same police officers who are supposed to be down in the MTA protecting those down there, using MTA facilities such as break rooms and lunch rooms to sleep. And people have gone in and filmed them and taken pictures of them on duty sleeping in MTA facilities. So as we're getting all these reports that the MTA, the subway system is safer, crime is down, that the presence of the police officers are doing their job and keeping MTA safe, and the numbers are dropping, here we have MTA employees coming forward with the truth and showing that no, a lot of them are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Instead, they're down here asleep, and they were slumped. So that is our wild story of the week. But this has been Vivian with Socially Conscious, giving you the news that we are following. And remember, if you have any wild stories you would like to submit, please feel free to direct message me. My username on Facebook is Vivian BM. And come back every Wednesday to find out if your story has been chosen. Thank you, as always, to our loyal listeners. And thank you, Pastor Steph. And also, that was a listener-submitted video. So thank you to our viewers.
Girl, you never cease to amaze us. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to talk about this stuff here. All right. Thank you so much, Vivian. We'll catch you in a minute, girl.
Yes.
All righty. Woo-wee. We always got some hot stuff. Hot topics. Always, always, always. All righty. So, what are we going to talk about while Vivian is away? Well, let's see. I've got a couple of stories that I'm going to talk about. And, I want to name this segment, Have These Women, oh no, wait, it's not only women. Have these people lost their minds? That's what I want to talk about today. Have they lost their minds? And I'm going to have this conversation. Make sure you hit me up in the chat room. Hey there, Pastor Kim. Love you too. Love you too. Praying for you and the family. Amen. We've got this Ohio teacher who has literally lost her mind. Lost her mind. So her name is Stephanie Demetrius. She's a teacher from Columbus, Ohio, and she's been arrested and charged with allegedly attempting to hire a student at her school to murder her estranged husband. Now, the story goes that she's a licensed substitute teacher for pre-K through 12th grade, and she was arrested in the beginning of April with felony conspiracy to murder after they received word that she offered one of her students at the Academy for Urban Scholars High School. Now, let's go over this name of this school again. Urban Scholars High School. Now, we don't have to say it's not a whole bunch of people from the other side of the fence on this scholastic roster. Well, she offered to pay this student $2,000 to shoot her estranged husband. Now, already you know she's dealing with a kid, because who's gonna take $2,000 for murder? We just got finished talking about this, yesterday? About somebody who, the woman who was trying to hire somebody on Tinder to off her police officer boyfriend and his daughter, and it wasn't no $2,000. So yeah, you're gonna pay them some little couple of pennies because they ain't got no other money. So I was dying to find out, how did they find out that she had gotten to this kid to get him to kill her husband? Well, they don't know how she got this young man to, what she used to coerce him other than the money, or why she chose him. And they made sure to say that in the article, that they don't know why she chose him, but she did. But the mama found notes on the cell phone. Yo, dumb. Where else do you think somebody gonna look? If he's a kid, there's chances that mama gonna look through this phone and find all this information about this plot to kill this husband. Now, she had given him $250 down payment to actually kill her husband, and promised that once he had done it, she would pay him the rest. Now, you really don't even know she was going to pay him the rest, because again, she didn't choose a child, so who knows? But she told him to make sure that the children were out of the house, because he actually worked from home. So he asked her about, well, what would happen if the neighbors heard the gunfire? And her answer to him was, listen, they don't care nothing about the neighbors. So they don't care nothing about their other neighbors. Not she don't care about them, but they don't care about the neighbors. And this woman has had a whole lot of problems, because they claim that she at one point had a stay away order and had broken into his home, stealing his laptop and some money. They also had a report that she had used some scissors to stab him while one of the kids was standing there. Yes. Now, they also say that she had set fire to the basement of his house, took parts necessary to repair the furnace during freezing temperatures, smashed garage doors, damaged property in front of the children, and took the home's Wi-Fi so that they would not be able to access internet. So she took the device that they used, so whether it was a router or whatever it was, she took that so that they could not get Wi-Fi. Now, they said that she has also physically assaulted two of the children, and they have this stay away order because she can't be trusted. She's crazy. And she continues to return back and forth to the house, breaking the windows and the doors and forcing herself in. So she's, in jail with the bond at $150,000, and they let her go. And so she paid something, but ordered her to make sure she stay away from them and honor this, this protection order. Yo, she has lost her ever-loving mind. What in the world? Where is my girl Shantice? Because, baby, we've got to talk about this thing. Let me see what the room is saying. Kenny said, that's a Pamela Smart true story, who had a student actually kill her husband. Yo, these people have, lost it. Good morning, Shantice.
Good morning, Pastor Steph. How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Child, as Mariah would say, she didn't lost her ever loving mind. I'm trying to see how old she is.
She looks like one of the students.
Yeah, I'm telling you, these students, they don't look much different than the kids these days. So when you actually go to the school, you got to really kind of take a double take to even make sure. And because they're not mandated to dress a certain way, they can easily look like the kids. We got to check in from AJ. Hey, AJ, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, again, she's been estranged from her family. Well, now you see why she got a protective order.
Right.
She's here with the assaulting the children. They say that, wait, I gotta go back a little bit. They say that she has broken into the home, stealing a laptop and money. They claim that she took some scissors and stabbed him while one of the kids were present, that she set fire to the basement of the house. She took parts that were necessary to repair the furnace during freezing temperatures, smashed garage doors, damaged property in front of the children, and took the home's Wi-Fi to prevent internet access. Let's just talk about that part. We ain't even going to talk about the fact that she arranged for the kid at the school to kill her husband.
The taking of the Wi-Fi, I'm like, how petty? How petty? I had someone say to me, and they said they were joking, and after I started, laughing, I was having to really think, God, to consider who was talking to me. And so I just want to go to everybody's house and steal all their channel 3s, because that's when channel 3, you have to be on that in order to look at everything else. What you would think, like, oh, let me take your router or your extender, so that way when you go to log on, the joke is on you. You the fool, because you ain't got, you can't get on Wi-Fi. That is just like, so you went through all of that and still got to the point to where you wanted to hire anyone, regardless of who it was,
right,
to then murder your husband after you did all of that. You weren't tired after you plotted and did all of that,
right?
You were tired. That's why you hired somebody else to do the rest of the work, because you said, listen, that me going back for that router was just the last bit of energy I had. So I'm gonna need you to finish the job. That is, I would love to know how that conversation started. Like, how were you able to approach this kid that you're supposed to be teaching, or that you see in the hallway all the time, about doing something like this? Why did you feel that comfortable with him? What kind of relationship y'all got?
Well, that's what they said. They said that they don't have the reason that drew her to him.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know why she chose him, but clearly she was tired, and clearly she does not care about the children, because who steals parts that that necessary to repair the furnace during freezing temperatures, and you care about your children?
Right.
Who sets the basement on fire and you care about your children? I already got a wild story before Vivian even got the wild story. I'm like, yo, this chick is crazy.
Yes.
So now you get to the point where not only have you approached this kid, but you're communicating with him how? Via your cell phone. Dummy.
Like no one was ever going to see that.
Come on. And things in writing. Why
Right.
do people put stuff in writing?
You-
That's the first thing they do is they go for phones, laptops, all kinds of emails and
Right.
text messages and social media. All of these things they target so that they could find out what were you planning. This wasn't spontaneous. Well, it ain't planned because what I'm saying, it's not spontaneous because she didn't did all of this stuff here. So she's been planning all along. And they're saying that she physically assaulted 2 of the children and the father.
Wow.
So how much hatred do you really have for these people?
A whole heap of a lot. A whole heap
You
of a lot.
really. They at the end, they have here that her public defender stated that she denies the allegations, asserting that they are fabricated. They found the evidence in the phone.
Someone stole her phone and was texting this kid to kill her husband. It wasn't even like another random, right? It wasn't even like another random person to kill your husband.
The same one she been trying to kill
Right.
all this time.
Right. Like, come on. Let's be for real.
Well, here's the funny part. The funny part to me, and I don't mean ha funny, but the ironic part is she told him to make sure that he didn't kill the husband while the children were in the house because he worked from home. But at this point, it's like, well, did you really care?
After you tried to freeze them to death.
Okay. Stole the Wi-Fi. No, excuse me. Set the basement on fire. So you really care that they were not home when he went to kill the father?
I'm gonna need you to make up your mind. First, you steal the heat, and now you set the house on fire. Like what are you trying to do? Which one do you want? You want them cold or do you want them hot? Because that just made no sense.
AJ says, this is why I kept my TV with the antenna. I just have to change the hanger every now and then. Well, she would have stolen a hanger or the pliers, AJ.
Right.
So it wouldn't have mattered. Right. It wouldn't have mattered. But it really goes to show that these people are mentally unstable. She's working as a substitute teacher, in a school from pre-K to 12. That was the other thing. So already we got issues because that's what I was trying to figure out. I'm like, well, what kind of school hires somebody and everybody going?
Right. We were on here a few weeks ago, Pastor Steph, speaking on how we can't stand the fact that they have the junior high school students in there with the high school students. So you got 13, 14-year-olds in there with 17, 18, 19-year-olds. And now you're talking about kindergartners with the 18, 19-year-olds. Like, where is this?
Right. So already you've got something off kilter. You got the pre-K through 12th grade.
Right.
Why is everybody in the same school? So now she's got her pick of everybody.
Right. Now that's why what's the title of the school? The urban.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Urban Scholars High School.
Because everybody.
So I guess the high school is on the side, and the pre-K is on the other side.
Everyone's a scholar. You got K through 12 in there.
Everybody's a scholar and a murder for hire.
Oh, goodness.
Well, you can now, take the time to educate your kids on how to kill people, how to get away with murder.
Right.
Goodness gracious. Is our girl Viv back?
Yes, she is.
She ready?
Yes.
All righty. Well, good morning again, Vivian.
Good morning.
Now, we are missing our lady Tamika. She is away. So it is just Pastor Steph and the With All Due Respect crew. So we started off this morning with Vivian talking about 1 in 31 children are diagnosed with autism by their 8th birthday. And the numbers have been going up pretty much for the past 2 decades. And doctors are supposedly getting better at diagnosing this, which is why they can tell where it's, I guess the earliest part that they're, they're affected by this autism, and they're calling it an epidemic. Data was collected in 14 states here in the United States. And they say at the 4-year-old stage, there's 1 in 34 children, boys more than girls, and blacks and Hispanics more than whites. Shantice.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I didn't miss even how you reiterated the story. Did they say why they figured the cause of that is? That it's so much now, like it's increased? And with that demographic?
No, they didn't give any cause.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little concerning. Because 1 out of 31, you can think like, oh, that's not, that ratio, those odds are not that bad. But you're talking about autism, 1 out of every 31 children. And now you're saying it's heightening. That number is increasing, it's climbing, and it's climbing within the minorities from what it sounds like, mainly. Why is that? Why is it climbing mainly with the black and brown people and and the Latinos? Like, what is that about? So it's like, okay, so the powers that be, are you taking the time to go back, research what the cause of this is, if there's a cause, and what could be the contributing factors overall? And then now the area where you see this number growing, or these numbers growing, why does it seem to be affecting this area more than that area? That's where my mind is going.
Okay. Vivian, what say you about these numbers?
Well, you definitely see it in the schools for sure. You don't have a classroom that doesn't have several children on the spectrum. And whether their parents are in denial or not, you see the signs. It don't matter what age group you're in, there's no classroom that doesn't have at least 2 or 3 kids on the spectrum. And I think that it has a lot to do with the food, because this is happening before the kids, it's happening in the womb. So it has to be what the parents are ingesting. And because nothing is safe anymore, you can't even drink bottled water. Now they're saying chewing gum has plastic in it. Like everything, the detergents we use, the soap we use, the lotion, the deodorant, is everything we're using today. Things weren't made like this back in the day. That's why you can say back in 19 something that it wasn't as prevalent, or even back in 2000s, it was 1 in 150 kids were diagnosed. And now we're in 2025 where it's 1 in 31 kids. And then if you look at the cultures, you know that it's more black than whites, because us black people don't have the resources that white people have. Their food is different in their neighborhoods. They have healthier options. They have more money to afford healthier options. So I definitely think that, it's just the things that we're ingesting, whether it's food, lotions, deodorants. It's no way around it.
Actually, that is the area where they're putting it on. I did some reading a while ago, and they talk about the diet. So yes, it is the black, brown versus the white, because the healthy eating or the poor eating if you will, from this side of the fence. The conditions, lifestyles, the conditions that parents are living in, the lead in the schools, in the
Mm-hmm.
homes, all of these things are contributing factors. The fact that we don't have money to change where we live,
Mm-hmm.
pollution, they
Mm-hmm.
have contributed, that attributed that to the spectrum, um, epidemic, if you will, because that's what they're calling it now. All of these things, it's not surprising that it's on our side versus the white side, because look at our lifestyles. Look at the conditions. Look at the way we eat versus the way they eat. Look at the
Mm-hmm.
money that, again, they claim that white people get food stamps just as much as black people get food stamps, if not more. But yet we don't eat as well as they do, even with the food stamps.
Right.
So we buy a bunch of junk and candy. Prenatal care, prenatal
Mm-hmm.
care.
Mhm.
The mothers don't get the proper prenatal care, so therefore they don't go to the doctors the way and then not necessarily because of health insurance, but health insurance is part of the issue. So you've got all of these things that are going on in the black and brown world versus the white world, and now you see why this is um the difference. My question is, why more boys versus girls? And because most times when you hear diseases and illnesses, females tend to be more ill than males. So that's what was kind of interesting to me when Vivian gave the stats. I was like, wow, they're saying boys more than girls. But if you think about it, when you see these children with autism, you do see more boys than girls. You don't see as many girls, diagnosed like that than boys. So it's very interesting, really interesting. But this is a call for us to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure we do what we need to do. When you become pregnant, get to the doctor. Not only that, I'm gonna tell you something else, and let's just be frank. Women ain't asking the questions about these men they getting pregnant by the way they should.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
were to ask, help us get information about your child's for your child's medical history. You didn't ask this man no questions the way you should have asked these questions. Because she
Man.
can't tell you anything. She can't tell you nothing about his family. She can't tell you nothing about him. So that's another reason why these children are coming out like this, because she don't know. So not only is she may not be taking care of herself, but has he? Because remember now, all of these things
Mhm.
are a part of the child's composition. So that was something that was really, 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 really interesting. Next, we have the story about Eric Adams being sued. Now, I'm a little unclear here. Now, I see something about the federal immigration agents from operating on Rikers Island. Now, from what I understand, at one point there was a ban. They could not be on the same premises as like a Rikers Island or something like that. And now they're being allowed to operate on Rikers Island, Vivian.
Yes, he's trying to get them. At least that's what people are saying, that he's trying to make it so that they can go back into facilities like Rikers Island. And in this particular case, they're focusing on the Rikers Island. That he's trying to get it to where they can have office space and jail facilities again, despite there being a law passed that banned them from being able to utilize jails for office space. So he's trying to put it back into place. They're trying to find loopholes and things that'll allow it to go back into place so that the ICE agents can be up in there doing what they need to do.
So while you got the mic, if you will, what do you think about this? Should this be a concern?
Yes, because Rikers Island has been in the news for so long about the conditions of the jail that they don't need to be up in there causing even more chaos and confusion and disturbing what's already been trying to be put in place to get this Rikers Island place back into some kind of order and decency. It's just going to just make matters worse. They don't leave Rikers Island alone in that sense. Y'all need to be fixing it to where it can stay out of the news in negative ways. Y'all can find some other areas or some other buildings or infrastructures to put these in to do their job. Y'all don't need to be in Rikers Island. Y'all don't need to be in any jail system. There's enough going on in there that y'all need to be focused on and to be giving space to somebody for some office space. Ain't no space in there now for the people that's in there. So how y'all making space for ICE to come up in there and work? Come on.
Ooh wee.
And then they're short staffed too. Now you're gonna have ICE agents in there playing police officers. No. Let's not do that.
Now you're on to something. Shantice, should it even matter that ICE is on the grounds of Rikers Island?
Absolutely, because they're not there for the reason that the other COs are there. So already it's like you're putting a whole different, you got the junior high with the high schoolers again. It's like you got two separate entities that you, and it, one of the things that kept popping in my head is, this is why from when it first started being talk about Rikers Island closing, they should have just closed it. See what happens? Every time there's some talk that starts surfacing, whether it's true or not, that they want to shut Rikers down, some always come up. People wake up dead, COs losing their mind, half of them ain't showing up to work, this one doing this one not doing that. Now you want to put, why? And I agree with Vivian. To do what? Where? Not only where they're going, but I thought their job was to catch the migrants. So when they catch them, where are they going?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, that's one of the reasons why the talk kept surfacing about Rikers closing. One of the reasons was because there was no more space on the island. So now we will have them sitting on the water, literally. You know, you're gonna have boats, tents on boats for them. It's just anything to make it seem like you have an idea. That's what I feel. It's like, I'm the mayor, and here's what I came up with. We can now get the ICE agents to go over on Rikers Island, and it would immediately be, well, since you're here, you can cover so and so's shift because these shifts are open, and we need. And now you got this whole big ruckus going on over there. Half of them probably ain't gonna want to do it because again, it's two separate entities. I'm pretty much like a bounty hunter as an ICE agent. I don't want to be secluded to no jail. So now you got me over here. It's just a mess. All so you can seem like you have a thought. And the thought never goes anywhere. So it's deferred.
Wow. Terrence says either they close Rikers Island down or just replace the whole staff, everybody from top to bottom. So I think you ladies are onto something. My thought was, okay, like Vivian said, of all the space, we got all this real estate in New York, and now you gonna land on Rikers Island? No, it makes no sense. Number two, you ain't supposed to have no space. Well, how all of a sudden you got space to put any agents, any outside entity onto Rikers Island? First of all, it is a prison.
Right.
However you call it. People say prison, jail. It don't make no difference to me. You're locked up. Why would you mix up the two. Why would I mix up the two? Whether it was animal control, ICE agents, it wouldn't matter. Why would I put anybody else other than prisoners and correction officers on the island? Next, my thing is, you're there for a reason. They're there because they trying to pick up all the extra illegals who are over there. Because all of a sudden, here's the news. I'm going to give y'all some upcoming news. ICE agents got their eyes on the prison system roster, and they were able to smuggle out all these people and get them deported. 2, here's the other news story. Oh, well, an ICE agent mistakenly kills a prisoner. This is the stuff that is going to end up happening, which is why you don't need anybody else on the grounds of a prison.
Right.
Because anything that goes down, it does not need to be with anybody except for prisoners, correction officers, visitors, and attorneys. That's the only people that should be there. That's it. ICE agents are not there by mistake. ICE agents ain't there because they ain't got no place else to put them. They want the ICE agents there because this is part of the deportation plan. Because how many illegals are sitting over on Rikers Island right now? How many? They got a whole lot of them sitting over there occupying space. So yes, this is just another way of picking up some additional illegals. They didn't already hit the car wash. They didn't already hit the the hotels. They didn't already hit every place else where the illegals are. Yep. Where else are the illegals? Wow, they're sitting over on the island. Let's open up some office space over there so that we can get some extra deportees. Yeah, that's what that's about. This ain't no mistake. And it ain't because it just ain't no place for them to go. This is a plan, but it is a bad plan. Because like I said, you're going to get news stories like crazy. Or ICE agents killed by inmates. Oh, it's going down. It's going down. So you listen, they trying to fill the news. We'll always have something to talk about on this due time. Because with all of these stupid plans, we'll always have something to talk about. Anika says it makes perfect sense when you're trying to curry favor with Trump. Yes. Because Trump want the immigrants. And remember, y'all, he was accused, Adams was accused of not revealing where the immigrants were. Remember that? Just a couple of months ago. They were saying, oh, well, Trump got you out, so now you got to jump to his every whim. It was the illegals that they were upset about. So now just give them access. Give them access. Oh, yeah. Oh, this news stories. News stories. So wait, so should they sue Vivian?
Yes, whatever you have to do. Whatever you have to do to block it, do it. Do it. And it'll keep him in his place too. Now you over there trying to stay out of jail. And now you getting sued because you're trying to play nice with Trump. And it don't matter what you do, you could deny it to your last breath. We always gonna know that you're doing what you have to do to kiss up to Trump to stay out of jail.
Absolutely. Shanti, should they sue?
Yes, for the simple fact that it makes no sense. You should sue. Stop wasting people's time with these plans that go nowhere. I agree with everything Vivian said. Stop with the back and forth. Stop with the empty, because like you said, Pastor Steph, with the news stories that is going to help to come up,
generate,
right, to generate, you're just causing problems. We already have problems. Instead of you learning how to deal and fix the problems, deal with and fix the problems that are already slapping us in the face, you are generating new problems. That's why you should get sued. Because you've already shown you don't care to fix the problems we already have. So how are you now contributing to the problem? Why? How? Why does that make sense? Because again, you're not going to be willing to. Wasn't there an issue with a lot of the COs, the hours? Because a lot of them were happy that they were able to work 16, 18-hour shifts and all that. You're not going to be there to help when an ICE agent wants to work all those hours like that. Now you got one agent fighting a CO because, no, this is my shift and my ward, and I'm going to be here. Again, because this is not what they do. So already they don't know how this works in here. It's a whole different flow, a whole different work schedule and ethic versus when you're out in the field. So no, you're just generating problems. For that alone, you need to be sued.
Well, I believe they need to sue because you need to stop the problems that are coming up.
Right.
Now, it was a while ago, not that long ago, rather, that they talked about he was begging not to let the federal take over the prison system. So my thing is, so why would you allow federal to even be on the premises?
Right.
That wouldn't even make sense. I wouldn't let them nowhere near it. Because not only that, I agree with you, Shantice. Now you got this power struggle, not for hours, but just because ICE agents have their own issues. So you got ICE agents who got their power struggle going on with COs who have their power struggle.
Right.
So now you've got all of these things. So you know what? Sue now, get rid of the problem, because you know what? If you don't sue now, they'll be suing later. Because inmates will be suing, COs families will be suing, ICE agents families will be suing, everybody be suing. Sue now, you don't have the lawsuit later, because somebody's going to pay.
Yep.
And it just always ends up being the taxpayer. Where do you think the money's coming from? It's coming. It's coming down the pipeline. All righty. Talk about Trump. He wants to give money and tickets to illegals who want to self-deport. And then if they are good, in his opinion, then we'll allow you to come back. This is a new program he would like to implement. And Shantice, what do you think of this program?
So you trying to help them now? You went out your way to kick them out, and now you gonna try to separate the wheat from the tare and bring back? Like, what are you doing? like what's in it for you? You getting some type of kickback from this, from whoever you are allowing back here. You have gone above and beyond from when you were in office the first time to make it your dying wish. You don't care if you was on a ventilator. Let me make sure they are gone. Now you want to try to weed your way. We were just, like Pastor Vinny brought up yesterday, we were just talking about the older couple that's facing deportation. They weren't criminals. They didn't dot every I and cross every T, but they weren't criminals. So why are you going through all the trouble of uprooting people like that? And then you're going to talk about, I think we made a mistake. You know what? You can come back. There's something in it for him. He's getting some type of financial kickback somehow. I don't know how, but he's not doing this out of the kindness of his heart.
Vivian, what do you think of this program?
I think he lying, first of all. He ain't bringing them back. He is not bringing them back. That's an empty promise. Like, yeah, take this airplane ticket, take this stipend. And if you're a good person, you can come back. He not letting these people back. Because there are so many stories out there of people who were mistakenly deported that are trying to come back.
That's
and he is playing games about getting those people back. So he ain't letting y'all back if y'all were illegal. Please don't fall for the okie doke. Do
Mm-mm.
not do it. And he's only
Mm-mm.
offering a plane ticket and a stipend because he is serious about getting these people up out of here. So if you will make my job easier and take this money and take this plane ticket
Mhm.
and take your butt back to where you come from, then I'll still get my way and it'll just be done
Mhm.
easier. So he's just like, you want to do this the hard way or do you want to do it the easy way? Either way, you getting up out of here. That's all he's doing. And that's why he's taking
Mhm.
all this money from everyone else. We just did the story about Mayor Adams, who was upset
Right,
because they taken
right,
millions of dollars from them.
right.
He's just making sure he gets his way. This ain't out of no goodness of his heart. He always wants to pretend like he's doing something for the good of the people. No, you're not, sir.
Mhm,
And I hope no
mhm,
one's falling for
mhm.
this stuff.
Absolutely. Terrence says, I won't lie. That's smart for him because if they leave or they're on their own, what will the people say about him? How's he doing things so they can keep him out of the news? Okay. So Terrence says this is a ploy to make him look good. I am in total agreement with Vivian. When I heard her saying that, I said, I hope they're not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. He just took $188 million from New York City alone. And that was the money that was allocated for the illegal immigrants, all of those asylum seekers. That was the money that was allocated for them. And now you want to do what? You want to pay? Nah. Here's the thing. It costs to ship these people back. This ain't free. Whether they're going to El Salvador, whether they're going to back to their country, whether they're going to another country, there's some money being exchanged somewhere. And he needs this money. Now, I agree partially with Terrence as well. I'm going to make you look good because, see, now, not that he really cares, but he cares about the way he looks, that he's just arbitrarily just deporting all these people, whether they should be or whether they shouldn't be. So now you want to make it seem as though you want to pay people, if you want to, go and self-deport, I'm going to pay you. How many people would fall for that because they want the money? So whatever money that they would be promised, they take the money and they go back thinking that, we could go back in a year or two. Yeah, it'd be another 99 years before you get back here in the United States because he is going to lock the gate once you're gone and you are not going to be able to come back. He has already gotten rid of, listen, he's taking money from students. He's revoking their visas. These innocent students, they're coming here to learn. None of them have been problem people, no nothing. And he is revoking their visas. So now all of a sudden, you revoke the student visas, but you want to pay people to go back. Why don't you leave them alone?
Right.
Why don't you leave them alone? Leave them alone. So this is all for him. So whether this is a way of getting people out easier without forcing people, because how many ICE agents do you need if people start doing this on their own?
Right.
They ain't got to work because you got them lined up at the door to get their $5 to get up out of here. Okay. Or like Terrence said, you want the optics of looking decent. So you're going to do this. This is not anything to do with his golden heart. This is all so they can get these people up out of here as easy as possible. And to let people do this voluntarily is a whole lot easier than to be rounding up people. You know why? Because they didn't ran out of places to go. I keep telling y'all, the hotels are empty. The car washes are empty. The bodegas are empty. All these places are empty now. Now what you need to do is now you need to draw them out. What better way to draw people out than with $1?
Right.
Because these people need money. They can't work. They're afraid to go to the supermarket. They're afraid to go to school. They pull them out with $1. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Roaches check in, but they don't check out. That's exactly what he's looking for. That's exactly what he's looking for. Shantice, please play that video for us again of Vivian's wild story. Because now that I know what I'm looking at, please let me see this again.
Okay.
Vivian, we're not going to call this wild story. We're going to call it slumped. I thought okay, so my eyes were not deceiving me. I just didn't know who it was. I didn't recognize the uniform. All right, Viv, you got first dibs at this story.
I'm so happy that people are putting this out there, because if you hear the stories of our resident MTA employee, you would know that these people ain't doing nothing down there. We already knew, but now there is video evidence that they ain't doing nothing down there. These people are getting paid. And I remember we did a story before where they said that the MTA police are usually police officers who are taking overtime duty in order to be down there.
I remember that.
So of course they're tired. Of course they ain't really effective down there. You 2 minutes away from your bed and then somebody offers you some overtime. So you'll take it. But you're not gonna be effective if you tired. But no, they don't. It's not enough to be down there and be in the back on your phone. They are down there slumped in the MTA facilities. Like nobody was going to say nothing. You didn't care or think that anybody would take a picture of you and put this out there. It didn't matter. You just needed a couple of minutes of sleep when you're supposed to be down there protecting people. And that's why when we do our stories, there is story after story after story of somebody got slashed in the MTA, somebody got attacked down the subway, somebody got pushed, somebody set on fire. The story that we heard about the man who violated a dead body, and everybody's question was, well, how did no one see that this person died on a train, that this man was able to walk up on him and do what he wanted to do? And this is why. Because the police officers are down there literally sleep when things like this is happening.
Shantice, did you recognize them to be police officers or transit police?
Yes.
Okay.
I was able to immediately see the patch on the arm, and I was just like, this is, they don't care. They know somebody gonna see. Whether they turn the video over to be petty, because you probably ate my lasagna that was in the refrigerator, all that. Somebody was gonna turn that footage in for something. That is just, how do you, with a job like that, and this is why I don't understand how they're handing out extra hours like that, because even the MTA workers, they're not allowed to work a certain amount of hours because MTA factors in 8 hours for sleeping travel. I don't know how they only factor in 8 hours.
No, they don't.
They don't do that anymore? Okay.
They say they do, but they don't.
Oh, they've gotten way desperate, because a few years ago, that's how it was. Like, they couldn't pick up another shift within a certain time span, because if they clocked out at such and such a time, how you now picking up another shift at this time? You didn't have the 8 hours to go home, travel home. And I said, but that 8 hours still not enough. That's travel home, sleep, shower,
right,
and then come back. 8 hours still isn't enough. But okay, granted, 8 hours. So how are you offering someone who's supposed to serve and protect? Serving alone takes a lot of energy, because that means you have to be attentive to others' needs. You have to be on point. You have to be there. To protect takes a lot of energy, because that means you gotta care. If anyone knows anything about caring takes a whole lot of energy out of you by itself before you even do the deeds that come along with caring. So how are you doing that, but yet you drooling like this? And then how y'all sleeping down there? Y'all comfortable? That was another thing. The last one where he's laid on his.
What happened?
She was about to
She
go
didn't
in.
talk.
Right.
She didn't talk to her own camera. Cut her off. Okay, so in the intro, we're gonna read Terrence's comment. He says, nothing new with police officers sleeping. They always catch them on video, but nothing ever happens, and I bet nothing will happen with this either. He then says, by showing the video, I think it might get worse in the MTA system if the public sees it, due to they now know they are not being watched. They are now being watched. I think that's what he wants to say. Okay, Shanti.
Nobody wants to call until I'm doing something. I'm never popular or wanted until I'm doing something.
Okay, yeah, so as you were saying,
yes, the one who was laid on his back snoring. Did you forget you were underground, sir? Why are you this comfortable down there? It's really concerning. It's concerning.
Well, like I said, when I first saw the video, I was like, okay, they sleep, but who is that? Because y'all know I can't see anything. But here's why they trifling. Why y'all playing Don't Wake Me?
I'm dreaming. In my dream, I'm working. But really, I'm in this break room, snoring and drooling.
Oh my gosh. I say y'all so trifling. Y'all don't play that song. Don't Wake Me. And you know, that's why I asked to look at it again. Because I'm like, yo, that was police officers. That's why I said slumped. They were knocked out. They weren't nodding. They were really not. And at one point they said 2 officers sleeping together.
Yes.
A woman on one side and a guy on the other side. And I was like, wow. So part of my thought was, could this have been during their break? And I said, okay, listen, I want to give it a benefit of the doubt. I was like, benefit of the doubt. Could this have been during your break? And then I'm like, no, this wasn't during no break. Because can I tell you something? You don't sleep that good during no break.
Because you mad. You mad when you go to sit down. That's already 2 minutes.
Right.
Because you limited
15 minutes to get to this break room.
Right. So you ain't sleeping like that if this is your break. You done sat down to chill because you ain't nothing happening, quote unquote. And now you are knocked out. And it is because you're tired. It is because you feel like, you know what? You're not being monitored. Ain't nobody big walking through here. And that there is indicative of why we have all of these, like you said, Vivian, all of these crimes going on. And it's like, where are y'all? Y'all somewhere knocked out, sleeping. Okay. You somewhere knocked out. And this is scary. This is scary because I'm going to tell you something. Not only that, but you're endangering yourselves. That's why when they have police officers, I've spoken, they're not supposed to sit, because if you sit and you go to sleep, you are vulnerable. Your gun is there. You can be
Right.
attacked. And at
Right.
the level of these individuals sleeping, yo, they could have undressed these people and they probably wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
known a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how deep sleep they were. So
Yes.
it's scary. It is so scary. But I thought the most comical part was, don't wake me, I'm dreaming. I said, y'all so trifling. Y'all gonna play this song for these people, and I would love to know, as this was passed around, what they do with this information, because eventually it's going to get to somebody who's in charge. Let's see what they say. Okay. Serge says now MTA is being penalized with ticket threats. What does that mean, Serge? You got to tell me what that means. I don't know what that means. Okay. Oh, he says, saying if we don't park properly around MTA property, we're going to get a ticket. Some MTA workers are mad because of this video. Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm
Now
Oh,
sure
so
they
they
are.
he's saying
can't.
that the NYPD is coming back at them, saying like trying to do a tit for tat kind of thing.
Oh, sweat. Really?
That's what I think he's trying to say.
Wow. Okay, that one went right over my head. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. Because they're the ones writing the tickets. So it's like
Right.
they're getting back at you for videotaping them sleeping, because now this can get back to somebody. And somebody's going to start patrolling. Some
Mm-hmm.
real, higher up is going to start patrolling,
As they
because now
should.
they look like clowns. Now
Mhm.
they look like straight clowns. And now they're mad. Okay, I got you, Serge. Well, thanks for the clarification, Vivian. Sir, Katie says, no, it wasn't during their break. It's what they do naturally. I agree. I agree. Tara says the MTA is mad as well. That's why they took the video, because the police taking all their money. They could have had the
Mm-hmm.
police get back to their watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, this is straight crazy that they now are giving tickets to the MTA workers. Wow.
Ridiculous.
Petty, petty, petty. Vivian, we're about to lose you. What you want to say before you check up out of here?
This is just evidence of how much this world has fallen. It's just a mess. And I really believe the fact that why boys have autism more than girls is a spiritual thing, because who is supposed to be the head of the family is the men. So
Wow.
it doesn't make sense that it will be boys having autism more. And maybe it's a misdiagnosis. A doctor sees a black kid and you're complaining about behavior issues, or you're complaining about this and that. So he's just like, oh, okay, we're just gonna diagnose him with autism. Maybe it's that, or maybe it's a spiritual thing. Because it just doesn't make sense. We get the black versus the white, but why the boys versus the girls?
Right,
So it's
right,
just
right.
evidence that, as Pastor Kim would say, we are in our last and evil days, because this world is just a complete mess. Now you got Mayor Adams and President Trump constantly in the stories, in the headlines, all for negative reasons, because they are just out for self. Don't the powers that be don't care about nobody but themselves, and they are just making a mess of this world. And then you got the people who's supposed to be protected and serving out here slumped instead of doing their job. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. So make sure you are right with the Lord, because He is the one who's going to be able to protect you. Because don't nobody
Right.
else who's supposed to be doing the job care for you.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for your contribution into today's episode. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too. Have a good day,
Thank
ladies.
you. Thank you. Wow. 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 All right. Well, how would you like to close this segment? I'm about to give one more story for the day. How would you like to close this segment of Socially Conscious, Shantice?
Just stop with the buffoonery. Stop trying to introduce unnecessary problems and stop with the pettiness because again, the time that you took to help this video to get around, what did you do to help them in that moment to get up on their feet to do their job? What were they needed on a platform or something during that time, but you're just sitting there pulling your phone out and probably laughing at them and teasing them and now sending it to your coworkers. We have to do better by each other so that we can help each other stay on point.
Okay, interesting thought. Interesting thought. My thought to that is, they're annoyed. They're annoyed because they're getting all of this notice and notoriety for doing this job, and supposedly the MTA is safer, and the MTA of all people, those workers know it's not safer. So now, what way do I show that they're not doing their job? To put them on blast. Think about it. If I saw one person sleeping, I may not mind waking him or her up, but this is only probably 1/18 of the people that they didn't caught sleeping. Right. And now you got enough to make a whole Instagram video.
Oh, how about a whole reel?
Right,
and add music to it, edit it, right, and everything.
Right. So it's one thing to say, why don't you put don't shine the light on them, help them, but they're probably angry too because their lives are in danger down there. Absolutely. So while y'all sleeping, I'm out now, y'all spitting on me, killing me, throwing stuff on me, throwing feces and urine and all this stuff, and y'all slump? No, and they not trying to hear it. So, now you see why they're putting them on blast. Right. And now, unfortunately, it's almost like this war that goes on between the firemen and the policemen. So now you got MTA versus the police officer, the transit police. So, this is what's going to make it really scary, because now, instead of them working together, now they're going to start working separately.
Together, right.
So if Serge's feeling is right, and this is why they are ticketing them, this is tragic, because it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess. And again, they always give us news reels.
Yep.
This is what makes for the story. They always say that the media blows things out of proportion. Let me tell you something. If y'all would stop giving the media stories, there would be nothing to blow out of proportion. Yep. So let me see. Let's close this down by seeing what is being said here in this chat room. They both petty. Terrence says they're both petty. MTA and the police. Remember, it started at the parking meter maids and police. Now this. Serge says, I agree with V. Terrence says, all they need to do is go for the higher up and not the small fries, because nothing will change. Just new small fries.
It's true.
It is true. It's very true. All right. Talk about petty. You've got this Michigan man, and not the tire man, but the Michigan man who is 19 years old. Joshua Lowe, 19, was sentenced to 8 months in prison because here's the story. He's living with his girlfriend and their family. They all took a cruise to Jamaica, to the Caribbean, on Carnival Cruise Lines. And they left him to take care of the pets. He got mad and sent an email to the cruise line, and it says, and I quote, "Hey, I think someone might have a bomb on your Sunrise cruise ship." And they individually ended up searching over 1,000 staterooms. They also had to alert the U.S. Coast Guard and the Jamaican authorities because they were on their way to Jamaica. And Jamaica authorities escorted the ship to the port because they were nervous that this was true. Well, after the FBI traced the email, they traced it back to the guy who had been living with his girlfriend's family. And that now has him in jail. He's been sentenced to 8 months. He apologized for committing the crime of writing the letter. He wrote in a letter, sending the email, he wrote in a letter, "This is all my fault and I take full responsibility." And they say, in addition to the prison sentence, he's going to be required to pay restitution for the expenses associated with this hoax. And they say bomb threats are not a laughing matter and are extremely irresponsible. When individuals make false hoax threats, they divert critical law enforcement resources and spread unnecessary fear. The FBI takes all threats to life seriously and will ensure that those who resort to this kind of intimidation face the appropriate consequences. Oh my.
So because you had to cat sit, you got mad because you weren't going to be able to drink out of a pineapple on the sandy beach of Montego Bay. What? And you called? Like, what kind of thought process do you have? Because again, there are a whole lot of thoughts that pop up in our head. A whole lot of thoughts that come to mind. Like, I should do this. I should say that. But to literally pick up the phone, wait, you have to Google the number first. See, there was some steps to this. You have to look the number up because this ain't like when we watch the movies and they say, "I left where we're going on the fridge." You ain't leaving the cruise on the fridge. Okay? So you have to go and research that number. And then pick up the phone and call and literally say this because you're mad that you got to clean the litter box. Serious issues. 8 months only? I'm surprised. That
was
8 months.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised.
That's it. It should be 8 months long for you finding out what the cruise line number was. Now you just you just disturbed everyone's mood, everything, their plans, because you're not there. No, they need to give him more time than that.
Yeah, I was very surprised myself. 8 months for a bomb threat, whether it was true or not, like you said, not just disturbing the passengers, but remember now, Coast Guard was alerted. The Jamaican authorities were alerted. They had to escort the cruise ship to the port. And now they have to stop, and 1,000 staterooms they went through to see whether there was a bomb on this ship. And all you got was 8 months.
8 months.
And that you got off easy. And you're paying restitution for the money that was spent.
Whose money?
To go through, right, to go through all of this. Whatever, like they did with us Smollett. Now whatever monies, it took to do all of this. So you 19 years old, it's going to take you to about 39, 49 to pay off because
if you was cat sitting, you ain't have no job.
Right, right. I was just going to say, not only if you were cat sitting, but you ain't all that smart. So you ain't going out here to get no banker's job. you you gonna be going from lettuce to fries. That's your job.
See, I'm washing lettuce.
Okay, that's gonna be your job.
Mm.
I don't have a whole lot of hope for you in the workforce. You are not gonna be a threat to other employees who are applying for certain jobs. So you it's gonna be a minute before you finish paying. Not only that, you're 19 years old. Do you know where your name gonna be sitting? You ain't gonna be able to sneeze.
Cruise,
And
you
they're gonna,
cruising. Goodbye.
yeah, they're probably gonna have you instead of you just holding out, and as Shanti said, change the cat litter. You now go make an enemy of the cruise lines, because you better believe they putting that name down. And you will never be able to cruise.
Yep.
So you're never going to be able to find out how nice it was or how bad it is to travel like that, all because you're emotional, which is another reason why I know you're not going to get no decent job, because you're too emotional now. If you're emotional like this at 19, you're going to spend 8 years in jail. So now you're going to be mad at the family, mad at the cruise lines, mad at the Jamaican authorities, mad at the Coast Guard.
Mad.
You know, all of this, I'm sorry, this is all my fault. You might be sorry, but you sorry. Because anybody who's going that far over a cruise trip, listen, here's my thought. Now you tell me if I'm crazy. You already living with the people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're 19, you pretty much wasn't really making any money at all. If you were working, you weren't really making, you're making 19-year-old money. So
Right.
we good. I'm not mad at you. So these people were already taking care of you for nothing, because whatever you were making, they surely couldn't get rent from you.
Right.
So there's a blessing in what you were being allowed to, to do. You're allowed to stay there. And this is how you say thank you, by messing up my trip. If you weren't going to jail, you couldn't stay at my house anymore.
Wait, Pastor Steph, how did they know it was him that called in the bomb threat?
It's an email, Shanti.
Right. Oh, okay. I forgot you said the email. So he emailed it?
He emailed the bomb threat. And wait, I'm gonna tell you what he said. Wait, we gotta go back.
Cat he was watching.
Wait. I gotta tell you what he said. Cause I'm gonna tell you something.
You don't
it's
think
too
they
bad.
Back emails?
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is so stupid. Okay, so first of all, even the terminology that was used for the threat, to me, you got to take it seriously, because you cannot just assume that it's somebody illiterate who's not serious. But you really posed no threat even in the email. It says, after he sent an email to Carnival Cruise Lines in January of 24, it read, "Hey, I think someone might have a bomb on your Sunrise cruise ship." Ooh. Again, you cannot minimize the threat.
Right.
But you ain't sound like somebody who was like a mastermind.
You sound like somebody who was emailing from your school account that got your name and the school attached to the email address. They didn't even have to trace, like, oh, let's go to the IP and see what. No,
right?
Because it said your name at torocollege.edu. Genius. This is what happens when you. This is what happens when I cannot.
I'm telling you.
And then wait. So what did you think was going to happen when they came back and you were still at their house?
Right. That's what I'm saying. They were already giving you a place to stay for free. Because again, if you're 19 years old, you're really not making a whole lot of money. And if you send a text that's you probably got a GED.
Hey, I think there's a bomb. They probably have to really, they probably have to say to themselves what you said, Pastor Steph, like, because we can't take this like that. Because that's like something that would get sent to spam or trash. Like, what? You should get more than 8 months just for that. See, I didn't realize you sent that. Just for that. Because I can guarantee you they didn't have to do no first 48 to figure out where that email came from. They
probably figured that
the clock
right.
The clock going down like and then the recap within the first 48. Within the first half hour when we looked at the email. Oh my goodness.
This is what I'm saying.
See, all these ungrateful kids, man. These ungrateful kids.
And entitled kids. Because you felt they should have taken you. And that's the bottom line. You didn't say that, but that's the way you felt. How dare you leave me here with the cats while y'all go cruising? Not, you know what? Thank you for still giving me a place to stay because you didn't have to let them stay there while you were cruising.
Because there's life after the cruise, bruh.
Okay.
There's life. There is still life, whether you went or not. There's still life after the cruise. So now your life after the cruise is being spent in jail because you wanted to be salty and in an ignorant way.
Because you were left to watch the cats.
Knowing my mama, I'd have got beat just because of what I sent. Not even. I'd have got beat up for the way for the source. Like, wait, you sent it how?
This is what I'm saying. Email. Email. The most traceable thing an email. Wait, let's see what's going on. Hey, Pastor KL. Thanks for joining us. Sir says right after that video, we're talking about the MTA and the police. Right after that video was posted, MTA said for officers to stop coming to the break room, crew room. Oh, you didn't have to tell them. They was going to automatically stop because y'all videotaping him. They ain't going there still. They're stupid.
Cameras.
Okay. And Terrence says about this a story. He says, I'm crying. Laugh out loud. They treated him as a small fry.
What's with him and these small and big fries today? He hungry?
A small fry to watch the pets. I'm calling in the bomb threat to you're not leaving me while y'all going to Jamaica. And that's exactly the mentality. You are not leaving me here while you go to Jamaica and I'm watching the cats for free.
But he probably messed up his opportunity to go. He probably spent the money he was supposed to save to go, or they probably say, we're going to treat you, and he did something silly that messed up his opportunity. And now you mad. Because why would they take everyone but you unless you're already kind of deemed as low? Like, okay, so if they're going and they took their children, but technically you're not their children, so they couldn't afford to factor you in, unless it's maybe something like that. But if it's just like normally everybody go, but this time I get left behind, you probably messed up your own opportunity to go, and now you mad. Because people do stuff like that. They're the reason why they're in the situation, but yet they mad. You're like, well, how are you mad?
No, it's possible. It's possible because, like you said, there's a possibility that if he was staying there, they're going on a family trip. You say, well, listen, hey, if you save up your money, we're glad, you can go with us. We're not going to pay, for you to go, but you can go with us. And he probably couldn't come up with the money, if that was the offer. So there's a lot of possibilities. Mm-hmm. But one possibility is you will not be living in that location anymore. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you were especially if you were staying there for free, which you probably were, they're not going to, nah. You know how much money they pay?
Yeah, and how are they supposed to stay
You
fake?
invest their money. Right. Right. And not only that, I'm gonna tell you something else. I wouldn't trust you to sleep around you no
That's
more.
what I'm saying. You calling Jamaica to tell me there's a bomb threat where I am. What you doing here? While you no. That's all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
can
right.
sleep around you again. And then let me tell you something. You know how we do. We pops, you know that time when he was sneaking around and we were wondering, and he said he was only looking, for a pen in the drawer. You know,
But he only sends out emails, so what he need a pen for?
okay. I'm serious. You start thinking back on all the times when he was acting kind of funny, and you
Yeah.
start asking the girlfriend, hey, what that night when y'all said when the tire was flat on the highway and we had to pick y'all up. Now, at what point did that tire get flat? I'm telling you, you start thinking about all kinds of things and all kinds of thoughts come to your head. But I tell you one thing, you wouldn't be able to stay with me anymore. You wouldn't have to worry about it. When you got out of jail, we been moved. I'll send you an email to tell you we have relocated. Thank you, Shantice,
You're
for
welcome.
your contribution to today's conversation. And we pray you have a blessed day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. All right. Terrence says, no, he had to pay them rent and they took his rent money and sold, small fry. Watch the birds. Terrence, you in a small fry, big fry today. Oh my goodness gracious. Like I said earlier, as long as there is news, there will always be, and it's due time with Pastor Steph. You will never have to worry about running out of stuff to talk about. But on a serious note, we talked about a lot of disturbed situations here today. We talked about the teacher in Ohio who was traumatizing her family, her estranged husband and the children. They had a protective order against her because she was terrorizing them, set the basement on fire. She took parts from the boiler to and left them in freezing cold. She stabbed the husband with the scissors in front of the kids. They said that she had abused the children at one point. And now she graduated to hiring one of the students at the school to murder her estranged husband. And she promised him $2,000 and gave him a $250 deposit. That's ain't no mental illness. That's you're wicked. You're wicked. You're wicked. You think about you hear all the time, rather, how the husband and the wife are not getting along, and they do things, but who does things to the children? They took the device out the home so that the children don't get Wi-Fi. Who does this stuff? Who does this stuff? Who does this stuff? You talk about this particular case where, you're 19 years old and you're clearly immature. And you know what? Here's the sad part. He could have been 39 and doing the same thing. Unfortunately, we can't even attribute this stuff to age. But in this particular case, he's 19 years old, mad because, he's staying with his girlfriend. First of all, to be able to stay with your girlfriend, you already in with the family. That's a bonus for anybody who can stay with the girlfriend's family. So whether they were letting you stay in the basement, letting you stay in the attic, staying on the built-in porch, whatever it is, a closing porch, whatever it is, they let you stay there with their daughter. And you are so angry because they went on vacation and they didn't take you, whether they just didn't offer you to go because they figured you couldn't afford to, whether they just didn't want to take you, they just didn't want you to go, or whether they asked you to go and you just couldn't come up with the money. Whatever it was, they didn't owe you anything. They had already given you by allowing you to stay there. And, I don't believe at 19 years old, how much rent can you pay? Rent these days teenagers can't afford to pay this. He doesn't have a white collar job, so he can't pay no rent. Listen, grown people can't pay rent. Grown people are having a hard time paying rent. No matter what the rent is, it's hard out here. So instead of you being grateful, you now send an email and upset how many different entities, how many different people, the selfishness behind it. It is nothing to do with mental illness. This is all indication of wickedness. We talked about President Bush. Oh my goodness gracious, President Bush. Okay, no, I haven't lost it. I don't have Alzheimer's. President Trump, who is offering to allow people to self-deport so that, and he's going to give them a stipend. So let's just say that's true. You're not going to take taxpayer money to pay these people to leave the United States. Now, we've been taking care of them while they came here and while they were here. And now you're going to take my money and send them something. I don't think so. Wicked, because it is all for self. He's not trying to help anybody. He hasn't been trying to help anybody. All of this stuff is just straight wickedness. And I keep saying every day. One of, we talk a lot, we laugh a lot, we give a lot of advice, we give a lot of testimony. But the one thing we keep pounding is we need Jesus. And this is the one thing that if we leave out everything, we need God. Because if we don't, you'd be straight cuckoo. You would really lose your sanity trying to chase all of the things that's going to help keep you sane. It is so hard. It is so hard to stay sane in this world. You really need God to help you stay on the right track. Now, if you think you're on the right track and you have not given your life to God, I'm here to tell you that without God, you would be nothing. The Bible tells us that the rain falls as well as the unjust, which means that the only reason why you have is because God allows, because you are his child and he's allowing it. As long as he allows and as long as he blesses you, it's still within his promise where he doesn't want to see anyone perish. And there's always an opportunity. Now, he ultimately knows whether you're going to give your life to him or not. It's not like it's any surprise, but there's still a promise that he would never leave you nor forsake you. So he keeps his promise. He takes care of his own. And even if you have not accepted Jesus as your personal savior, you're still his. You still belong to the Creator. So how blessed are we to be able to just live our lives the way we want to live it and still be able to be, on the sane side of life. Because when we talk every day, this is only an indication of if God removed his hand from us, where we would be. I laughed as you watched. I laughed at this whole 19-year-old scenario. But in all honesty, it's scary. And I give God thanks that I have 3 children who have come past the age of 19. And I didn't have to worry about none of this stuff. Because these days and times, if you have young people, you have got to stay prayed up and you've got to keep them before the Lord. Because if not, this is what they can do. Look at the child who was hired to kill. We think we don't have to pray over our children? For $250 deposit, he was going to kill this man. And even asking, well, what happens if someone hears the gunfire? Yo, you thinking. So if you have children and you don't have any of these concerns, you know God is definitely on your side. So let's make sure we don't forget who the author and the finisher is the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. We can't do anything without God, because if he's at the beginning and he's at the end, he is definitely in the middle. Try Jesus today. You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Join us Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. where we discuss matters of the heart, mind, and spirit. As you go through your day, be sure to set your mind on things that are above, not things that are on the earth. They will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer changes things. It's Pastor Steph signing off, and I want to thank my Due Time crew, the ladies, for always coming through big time. Thank you for hanging out with me and definitely keeping this chat room live. Oh, please do not miss this opportunity to give Christ your life right now. Please do not miss this opportunity to strengthen that relationship with the Lord right now, because later is not promised to any of us. Until tomorrow, where it's Therapeutic Thursday. Until then, I love you.